Okay. So would you be able to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, hi, I'm Anjali Bhimani. I'm the voice of Symmetra in Overwatch and Nishness. Apparently, I'm not actually a very talented voice actor. And Nisha in Fallout 4 Nuka World, and another game that is coming out in June that I can't tell you about.
Ooh, nice.
Which I'm very excited about.
Now, how long have you been in the voice acting industry?
Well, I've been an actress since the dawn of time. Since like 1802. I studied acting in college and then have been acting professionally ever since. But voice acting, that branch of the tree didn't really grow or sprout or whatever you would call it until probably 2014, 15, right around then. So pretty recently in the grand scheme of things.
That was roughly when Overwatch came out, correct?
Yes, it was roughly when we started working on it. So yeah, no, it was, I really started doing voiceover auditions it was a little before, not much before, just a little before Overwatch. So, lucky.
That seems like a big jump. So you said you studied acting professionally.
Yes.
What school did you attend?
I went to Northwestern University for theater. And it does seem like a big jump, but if you think about it, as a theater actor, particularly as a theater actor or a music theater performer, as I was both, you train your voice so much as a part of your work, and your voice is such an important part of the portrayal of any character on stage. And honestly, any character, period, whether you're doing TV or film or theater, but I think theater actors are more likely to be practicing and studying voice, I think. So that it seems like a big jump, and at the same time, it makes such perfect sense. Because you think about people who perform Shakespeare, or you think about people who perform on Broadway, and all of them have these incredible voices.
That is actually very true. It's funny that you mentioned that. A little brief history about myself really quick. I don't want to make this about...
No, do it!
I had just recently taken the theater appreciation class. So I'm and I was a theater kid in high school.
Oh my goodness, well that was me. Yeah. I was the theater kid, and then I graduated from school, did theater in Chicago for a while, and then I moved to New York with a show that went from Chicago to Broadway. Did some Broadway there, thank you. I did some Broadway, I did some opera, all sorts of stuff while I was out there, started doing TV, and then I started going back and forth between New York and LA for television. And then I stayed put in LA around 2010, and then just basically now that's home base, but I travel for theater and for, basically, we'll act, we'll travel. That's my life.
So it's obviously you have a very busy life if you're not going from one place to another.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you have a lot of things to do from, if not yesterday to today to tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
So how do you manage to jam pack in such a busy life that you have? I know time management is a must skill.
I think time management is something that people work at their entire lives. I was talking to my brother, who is a very accomplished human being and probably the smartest human being I know. And I remember him saying, the most of my learning time, other than the stuff that he's studying for work and such, most of my self-development time is spent working on time management and my health. And those two things are super intertwined. And honestly, time management comes so far second to sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, you can't manage your time. So that's honestly my number one thing that has helped my time management has been being really protective of my sleep, which I never was, because everybody's taught, oh, you should be busy. Oh, the less sleep you have, the more productive you have. No. I will sleep longer and be more productive during my daily hours.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because it's something that I hear, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us hear, it's you sleep when you're dead kind of thing.
Yeah, right. And I've said that before, but I don't subscribe to it, so I probably shouldn't say it anymore. I used to think the same thing. It is frustrating because a lot of times with my schedule, I won't have the opportunity to sleep, and then I'm just grumpy pants. But that's apparently a new character, grumpy pants. But that actually scheduling in time to manage your time, scheduling in time to sleep, scheduling in time to do the things that replenish you, for me is so much more important than cramming more stuff in.
Okay.
Because my husband said to me once, he was like, if you have a hole in your schedule, you will fill it. And he's right. And that is my tendency. So I have been learning to do less things at once. Don't ever plan on multitasking. It's a terrible idea. No one multitasks and gives something 100% of their energy, so you shouldn't really do it. Or I shouldn't really do it. And plan for, leave space for life to occur, for things to change, for plans to change, for things to go wrong, for things to go right. Because otherwise, when you're so nervous about your schedule, or you're so nervous about fitting things in and all of that, there's just no way to be productive. You're always worried about the next thing that's coming.
Another thing I wanted to that was really deep. I feel
Oh,
like I've
thanks.
learned a lot more about myself.
Aw.
Thank you.
Well, the more people ask questions like this, the more I realize I have to put,
You should just write a
I have to learn it. You know, you can't talk about something if you don't really understand it about yourself. So I love it when people ask great questions
Thank you. I
like this.
appreciate that. So to kind of go back to the acting really quick, in your acting, the acting world. I know, well, I don't know, I'm sorry. But like whenever you audition for whatever it may be, whether it's television, theater work, or voiceovers, do you still get nervous? Do you still get like that pre-game jitters?
You know, yes, but it's a different kind of nervous now. It's not a nervous, I don't know if I'm going to be good. It's more like an excited, like what's going to happen. And nervousness, I actually did a video about this online on my YouTube channel. Physically, nervousness and excitement kind of manifest themselves in the same way. You get the butterflies, you breathe, your heart might beat faster, all of these things, but nervousness is assuming that something might go wrong, and excitement is assuming that something might go right. So I totally get nervous, but I kind of channel it into what could possibly go right. Let's leave all of the options open. The only time I get nervous in a really negative way is when I'm unprepared. But I am starting to get more and more comfortable with being like unstudied, but knowing that I'm prepared as a human being.
Okay.
I might not have any idea what's going to happen, but I'm trusting more and more that I'm going to be able to handle it, because through your own life experience, you can trust yourself more. As long as you don't die, you have succeeded.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
I'm gonna quote the story. If you don't die, that's
Just don't die.
So when you auditioned for Overwatch, was that your first major voice acting?
Major, yes. It was my first major voice acting gig.
What have you done prior to that, to voice acting?
Mostly things like, either advertisements or what do they call, I don't know what they call them, but like the disclaimer at the beginning of
okay.
Tosh.0, I did that in Hindi.
Oh, nice.
And little things like that. So this, as far as games is concerned, this was definitely my first, this was my first
So
one.
when you auditioned for Overwatch, this is kind of a two-part question.
Okay, cool.
How was the feeling when you realized you got it? And then Activision Blizzard is such a huge company.
Huge company.
Did you know, like, okay, this is gonna be like the next hit, or like did it just?
No idea. Had no idea. Here's the thing. Like I knew, and when you're auditioning for games, same thing happened when I auditioned for Fallout 4 for Bethesda. You generally don't actually know what you're auditioning for. Generally, because a lot of times there will be a code name. For Overwatch, it was Prometheus.
Oh, nice.
And so they'll give you kind of a need to know information. So I didn't really know what the game was going to be. I just knew who this character was. And I was traveling at the time, and the circumstances weren't the greatest for me to, in my opinion, at the time, do the greatest audition. So I was just kind of like, oh, just do the audition and you'll never book this because you're traveling and it's terrible sound and all of this. So I did it and sent it off, and thankfully, through the grace of God and Andrea Toyas over at Blizzard, they picked me to do it. And the same thing with Nisha in Fallout 4. You know, you do a lot of these auditions, but you don't necessarily know what the character is going to be. When I did Nisha, I didn't even see any art for what she looked like.
Oh, wow.
So I voiced her without knowing what she looked like. And then when the game came out a few months later, I finally saw her, and I was like, oh, wow. And I was actually thrilled that I didn't know what she looked like, because I think I would have voiced her differently.
Nice.
So it's a testament to sometimes you just need to know about the character. But then Symmetra, I had no idea that Overwatch was going to be so big. I don't think any of us did, but I knew that Blizzard didn't do anything that wasn't amazing. Because, with Diablo and Warcraft and StarCraft and everything,
Blizzard, you just think of like these.
They just know what they're
insane
doing.
popular
They
game.
totally know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I had no idea it was going to be like this. And when I saw that first trailer, I was as blown away as anybody.
I think we could all just agree on that. The first trailer was
Oh,
breathtaking.
and then all of the cinematics ever since are
I've always
just so
told myself,
beautiful.
like, they just need to make a movie already. Like,
Right?
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing, and please cast me in it. The end. I know that they have long-term plans for the game itself, and Michael Chu, the lead writer, has the whole universe in his genius brain. So I'm just sitting back and trusting that they know what they're doing and when to let out which parts of the stories.
To kind of shift a little bit,
Yep.
we could talk about Fallout.
Yeah.
So I know for Overwatch, it's a lot of like quip lines or like one lines really
Right,
quick,
right.
Except if it's like in your cinematics where you actually say something.
Doing scenes, right?
But for Fallout, it's a variety of dialogue and
Yeah.
pretty much it's a choose your own adventure. So like whatever
Yep.
you do affects the way they talk to you.
Mhm.
So was that like a big major jump from Symmetra?
Not really. Not as much as you would think, because it still is. You're still recording lines by yourself, because it's not like we're actually recording a scene where I say this and I know you're going to say this and I know I'm going to say this and I know you're going to say this, because each character's lines are dependent on what someone chose right before that.
Okay.
Right? So what was very different was the actual character. That was very different. Because, Nisha is a bloodthirsty psychopath and Symmetra is not. And the worlds are very different. I was so intrigued by both of them, but Overwatch was something that I had. It's something that I want to say I more understood in terms of my life experience, and then when they showed me the trailer for Nuka World, I was like, oh, this is going to be a step into something that is so foreign to me and so fun. This crazy post-apocalyptic, scary world, which I don't normally love being a part of. But in the game, it's really, really fun. So it's great to have been able to play these two incredibly different characters, particularly because both of them had really rough upbringings, but one of them is using it as a reason to make the world a better place, and one of them is using it as a reason to run around and kill people. So very, very different. I don't know if I'd call Nisha the best of the world. When people come up to me and say, oh, you were Nisha, I'm so sorry, I killed your character. I'm like, please kill my character. She terrifies me, and I'm her. So yeah.
I was actually going to ask you that question. So have you played Fallout 4?
I say the same thing about both games. I have played both. If you ask me if I've played them well, it's a very different answer. I am terrible at first-person shooter. So bad, and especially on the console, because I didn't grow up with a console. I grew up with a PC. And now all I have is a console. So yeah, no. And I just played the new Battle Royale mode that they have for Fallout here.
Insane.
It was crazy and it's awesome. And I wish that there were another 10 hours in the day so that I could just sit and play both Overwatch and Fallout, because I really want to master. I just love the art is so beautiful and everything. I really want to master those worlds and be a part of it, but I haven't yet figured out the skill to actually not die within a few minutes.
I think it's because you're a very busy woman. You're busy making the games.
I am busy, but one should schedule in some time for fun.
True, that is very true.
So yeah.
So man, I had it at the tip of my tongue right
sorry.
now. No, don't worry about it. It's just I'm having a great conversation.
Yeah, it's a fun one. You're good at this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Another question I was going to ask. So when you're playing Fallout or you're playing Overwatch, is it weird when you play as yourself or you see yourself die? You're like,
well, it's not weird for me because Symmetra's not weird for me because she doesn't sound like me. She sounds like one of my Indian.
If I was to get both of them, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. She's much pitched much lower, and she sounds she has an Indian accent and all of that. So she's definitely got a different voice. I've mentioned this before, that when I'm playing and I hear her, I feel like she's taunting me. I feel like she's spamming me. When I will correct my mistakes. No, I won't. I don't know what I'm doing. Please, for the love of God, stop telling me to do better. Let us discuss your failures. No, all of that. That feels a little bit foreign to me. Nisha, it's just delightful to. I don't think of it. It's so funny that I said it's delightful to hear my own voice. It's delightful to hear that voice because I don't think of it as mine. And so every now and then I'm like, oh, that's right. I did that as part. I'm a tiny little cog in this big, beautiful machine that is this game. And so it's a kind of fun, when you're doing a TV show or something and you see yourself on screen, it's very clear that it's you.
Yeah.
But I lose myself in the world when I'm playing just as much as anyone else does.
That's awesome.
So that's really, really fun.
So there's now I remember what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
So I know for a lot of the animes, for Funimation or whatever the company are, they usually they keep it in house for voice actors, voice actresses. Is it like that too in the video game industry, or is it apples to oranges kind of?
I think much like anywhere else, once you make a reputation for yourself, you're more likely to be working with the same people, because it's about.
They're like, you work good, come on.
Yeah, well, it's like when you know that someone is enjoyable to work with and talented, that's the kind of person you want to work with. So people will go back to that well. I also know, like, for example, at Blizzard, while Andrea Toyes does use some actors over and over again because she loves them, she also is incredible at finding new talent. I mean, her reach is far, her creativity in casting is very far. I don't know if you've heard the story of how she cast Doomfist, but she remembered him from a show called Fela in New York years and years and years earlier, and she sought him out, and she remembered him from a musical.
Wow.
It wasn't someone that was already in, he had no connection at the time to this world.
I remember too, a lot of the buzz was like Terry Crews was going to be him.
Yeah, I have no idea how that, I don't know how that started. I think it started.
Was that just a rumor and he just ran with it kind of thing?
I mean, I honestly don't know because I don't know him. I don't know how it happened. Maybe the fans ran with it and no one stopped them.
That could be a very possible.
That could be
Terry
it
Crews
too.
Was like a fun individual.
Yeah. No, and that would have been interesting. But he's so good at.
When I heard him too, I'm like, this is a more appropriate.
Well, and there's just something so beautiful about the man's voice and talent, and he is such an incredible person in and of himself. It's a very powerful thing. Terry Crews can go do some other roles somewhere. I'm sure he's got plenty to do. In fact, I'm like, Terry, bring me along with you to work with you somewhere else.
Carry you along on his bicep.
Well, he could do that too. I would not mind that.
I'm sorry. So to kind of go back to what I was saying about anime. Would you ever be open to doing
Of course. I am open to doing pretty much any kind of storytelling that is legal and not destructive. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I really love how much anime can really touch people emotionally and how many great messages there are out there in so many different stories. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my watch list, but I've been talking to a lot of people about My Hero Academia and how beautiful it is and the lessons that people are learning from it and the way that kids and adults are all connecting to it. And that's ultimately what you want to do as an actor. You want to be a part of something that affects people and inspires them or teaches them more about themselves or helps them have experiences that they don't have. So absolutely. I mean, when I was a kid, I was all about Robotech. So I love the anime world.
Now, working as an actress, I'm pretty sure you have people come up to you all the time, be like, "Oh my God, you're Symmetra! Oh my God!" Like, I'm pretty sure that's like the most rewarding feeling in the world.
Well, it's not so much, "Oh my gosh, you're Symmetra," as something that you did, and often it is Symmetra because she's such an inspirational and incredible character. When people talk about how it affected them and how it's made a difference in their lives, how either with Symmetra or any of the characters in Overwatch, how they've been able to connect to a character and feel more inspired to be more themselves, whatever way that they've connected to them. And yeah, that's incredibly rewarding. When people will see something that you've done on TV or, there's a play that I did years ago that people still come up to me and talk about how much it affected them. And so to be a part of something like that is incredibly rewarding.
I would imagine. So, looking at it from the outside in, it's like a very beautiful thing to just
and again, Symmetra is such an inspirational character. Nisha. If someone was inspired by Nisha, I'd be a little bit concerned. But she's such a cool, both because she's Indian and because she's Indian and in a STEM field and a female and on the spectrum. There are so many interesting things about her. And the thing that I love the most is I said this before, that she's used the circumstances of her upbringing not as a reason to be angry or to not do things, but to step forward and be like, no, I'm going to make the world a better place. Whether or not she's aligned with the right company, who knows? We don't know. We don't have that information yet. Vishkar seems a little sketchy. But that people can connect to that, and that young Indian girls and Indian boys can see an Indian superhero, or people on the spectrum can see a high-functioning person on the spectrum who is taking their circumstances, both their challenges and and the unique way their mind works, and being able to use that in a unique way to do things that other people can't. That's exciting. And when people tell me that they're affected by that, then I get super excited.
And I'm kind of glad you brought up how she's a person of color and she has a rich cultural background.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about Overwatch is that genuinely when you play video games or something like that, it's like the white male or the white female. But one thing about like Overwatch is like it has a variety of like you have Hispanic, you have African American.
Yeah, and they're only making more. You know,
Yeah,
like there's
and-
just more and more.
So I feel like that right there, like Overwatch is helping set like the foundation for more like of a diverse and cultural.
Sure, and because look, you can't do that in necessarily every game because some games are based on a particular region or a particular
context.
past or whatever. You know, I don't expect to see an Indian character in Red Dead Redemption 19 because I don't know that would necessarily fit the world. An Indian actor, perhaps, sure. And me, please, guys. Yeah, I do think that Overwatch did a really great job of doing that. Blizzard has created a series of heroes that are unique not because of their gender or sexual orientation or ethnicity, but because of all of the sum of that, the sum of their parts. And that is that's a really inclusive universe that they've created that way.
To kind of shift back a little bit, do you plan on doing theatrical work again or any television?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm doing that all the time.
Okay.
I don't stop.
that was
Yes.
so probably there's a few things I want to end it on really quick. For a lot of like young girls and women that are like just not too sure, like maybe I don't have what it takes or whatever reason. What do you have to give them? Because you've made it and you've succeeded.
You mean as an actress or in life? Because I think it's the same either way. If I had one piece of advice to give to my younger self, and by my younger self, I don't mean even that much younger, like maybe even 2 years younger, it would be to spend more time focusing on what you are and cultivating that, and less time lamenting what you aren't that you can't change. Because so many of us, particularly women, but I think so many of us across the board, men and women, spend so much time wishing they were something different. Wishing you were tall if you're short, wishing you were from a different background, had a different set of skills, more athletic, less athletic, whatever it is. And sure, sometimes that can be an inspiration to work hard to become something. But sometimes it's you beating yourself up for something you really don't need to. If I had spent more time focusing on the things that made me uniquely interesting, as opposed to thinking of those as detriments to my career or to my relationships or to my life, I think I would have had a lot more fun doing a lot of the amazing stuff that I did, because I would have spent less time thinking I had to catch up or be something else. So I would say that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That inspired me.
Ah, good.
Thank you. I think that's probably all.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for spending time with me.
I know the interview dragged a little bit longer.
That's all right. I see someone peeking in the door, though, so we should probably let them go.
Thank you so much for your
Yes,
time.
of course.
Thank you so much for your
Yes,
time.
of course.
Thank you so much for your
Yes,
time.
of course.